class of science. Children, in this video we are going to discuss about salts. Till now we discussed about acids and bases and their properties very clearly. And now we are going to discuss about salts and the properties of salts. Children, already you have studied the formation of salts by the neutralization reaction of base with an acid. Now let us understand more about the properties, preparation and uses of salts. Children, first let us know about the family of salts. For knowing the family of salts, first you have to write down the chemical formula of some salts. Children, they are potassium sulfate, sodium sulfate, calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, copper sulfate, sodium chloride, sodium nitrate, sodium carbonate and ammonium chloride. Children, now let me explain how to write chemical formula of these molecules in crisscross method by using valency. Take first salt, potassium sulfate. What is the name of the salt? Potassium sulfate. First, write the symbols of each atom side by side, usually the cation first and anion next. So, in potassium sulfate, cation is potassium and anion is sulfate. What is the symbol for potassium? K. And what is the symbol for sulfate? SO4. Next, write the valency of each atom on the top of its symbol. Children, what is the valency of potassium? 1. And what is the valency of sulfate? 2. Divide the valency numbers by their highest common factor, if any, to get the simple ratio. So, here the valency is 1 for potassium and the valency is 2 for sulfate. The common factors are not there. So, write as usually. Next, interchange the valency and write the numbers to the lower right of the constituents as their subscript. Hence, the formula for the potassium sulfate is K2SO4. Children, by using this crisscross method, try to write down the chemical formulas for the remaining salts also. And now, here I am giving the list, but you try in your free time. Okay children, these are the chemical formulas of given salts. Children, identify the acids and bases from which these salts may be obtained. Children, look the first one, potassium sulfate. The formula for this potassium sulfate is K2SO4. For preparing this potassium sulfate, the required acid and base are H2SO4 and KOH, which means sulfuric acid and potassium hydroxide. And next, sodium sulfate. The formula for this sodium sulfate is Na2SO4. The required acid and base are sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide. Next one is calcium sulfate. The formula for this calcium sulfate is CaSO4. The required acid and base are sulfuric acid and calcium hydroxide. Fourth one is magnesium sulfate. Formula is MgSO4. The required acid and base are sulfuric acid and magnesium hydroxide. And the fifth one is copper sulfate. Formula is CuSO4. So the required acid and base for preparing this copper sulfate is sulfuric acid and copper hydroxide. The one is sodium chloride. The formula for this sodium chloride is NaCl. The required acid and base for preparing this sodium chloride is hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. Seventh one is sodium nitrate. The formula for sodium nitrate is NaNO3. The required acid and base are nitric acid and sodium hydroxide. Eighth one is sodium carbonate. The formula for this sodium carbonate is Na2CO3 and the required acid and base are H2CO3 means carbonic acid and NaOH, sodium hydroxide. Last one is ammonium chloride. The formula for this ammonium chloride is NH4Cl. The required acids and bases are hydrochloric acid and ammonium hydroxide. Next, salts having the same positive or negative radicals means ions are said to belong to a family. Children, from the above table, we can identify the following families. For example, look the first one, family of sulfate salts. Potassium sulfate, sodium sulfate, calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate and calcium sulfate. These all comes under sulfate family. Next, family of chloride salts. Sodium chloride and ammonium chloride comes under chloride salts family. Third one is family of sodium salts. Sodium sulfate, sodium chloride, sodium nitrate and sodium carbonate. Children, these all comes under family of sodium salts. Children, in first two families, we observed that the negative radicals are same. But in third family, the positive radicals are same. So, by this we conclude that salts having the same positive or negative radicals are said to belongs to a family. Okay children, by using the given salts, we have identified three families. And next coming to one more topic, that is pH of salts. For finding pH of salts, you have to collect some salt samples like sodium chloride, aluminium chloride, copper sulfate, sodium acetate, ammonium chloride, sodium hydrogen carbonate and sodium carbonate. Next, dissolve these salts into distilled water separately. Next, check the action of these solutions with litmus paper. Check the action of these solutions with litmus paper and find the pH of these solutions with pH paper. And also identify the acids and bases used to form these salts. And next, classify these salts into acidic, basic and neutral. And note down your observations into a table. Okay children, look this table. Children, look the first one, sodium chloride. The pH of sodium chloride is 7 and the acid and base used to form this sodium chloride are hydrochloric acid and ammonium hydroxide. The nature of the sodium chloride is neutral, which means neither acidic nor basic. Similarly, observe the third one, aluminium chloride. The pH of the aluminium chloride is less than 7. So, the acids and bases used to form this salt are hydrochloric acid and aluminium hydroxide. The nature of the aluminium chloride is acidic. And next children, observe the sodium acetate. The pH value of sodium acetate is greater than 7 and the acid and base used to form this sodium acetate are acetic acid and sodium hydroxide. The nature of the sodium acetate is basic. Okay children, after observing the table, finally we understood that salt of a strong acid and a strong base are neutral and the pH value is 7. For example, take sodium chloride. This sodium chloride is formed by hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. Here, hydrochloric acid is strong acid and sodium hydroxide is also strong base. So, the nature of sodium chloride is neutral and the pH value of sodium chloride is 7. Next, the salt of a strong acid and weak base are acidic and the pH value is less than 7. For example, take aluminium chloride. This aluminium chloride is formed by hydrochloric acid and aluminium hydroxide. Already we know all hydroxides are basic in nature. Here the hydrochloric acid is strong acid and aluminium hydroxide is weak base. So as a result, aluminium chloride is acidic in nature. Next, the salts of a weak acid and strong base are basic in nature and the pH value is more than 7. For example, take sodium acetate. Sodium acetate is formed by acetic acid and sodium hydroxide. Here, acetic acid is weak acid and sodium hydroxide is strong base. So, the obtained salt sodium acetate is basic in nature and the pH value is more than 7. Finally, the salts of weak acid and weak base. Children, in such cases, the pH depends on the relative strengths of acid and base. Okay children, in this video, we clearly discussed about family of salts and pH of salts. I think you understood these concepts very well. Okay, in my next video, I am going to explain about chemicals from common salt. So everyone keep watching my videos like this only and don't forget to subscribe the channel. Thank you.